Just not good enough. The Canucks fall 5-4 in overtime to the Ottawa Senators. 1 win in 5 games as the home woes continue. It's time to break it all down right here on Rink Wide Vancouver. And we welcome you inside the Rink Wide Vancouver studios, the lower lobby of the Wall Centre Hotel in downtown Vancouver on a night that sees the home team lose. Again, where have you heard that before? The effort's just not good enough, quite frankly. And yes, they claw back and they get a single point. Well, guess what? Single points aren't going to get them where they want to go as teams around them continue to win and gain traction. And it's one step forward and a couple steps back for the Vancouver Canucks, who have now lost 3 in a row, just 1 win in their last 5 games. Rink Wide brought to you in part by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Be sure to use code NATION when you open an account. It is Jeff Patterson here. David Quadrelli is going to join me momentarily. Before that, though, you've heard us talking about Super Chats and a chance to get your thoughts heard and read right through to us here on Rink Wide Vancouver. The Super Chat function is available on the YouTube live chat, and it's already hopping there. And look, 'tis the season. It's all for a great cause. Our Super Chat charity partner this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation. You want to make sure that your question gets through with a small donation, and all the proceeds are going to the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. It was an extraordinary morning down at the rink as questions were asked about this purported rift between 2 of the top players on the Vancouver Canucks. Quinn Hughes with a masterclass in handling some of the heat this morning and a masterclass this evening, and really disappointed for him, quite frankly. It's incredible that night after night after night, this guy shows up, puts up, plays hard, is easily the best player on the Vancouver Canucks. And how can the rest of the guys in that locker room look the captain in the eye and half-ass it, as is happening just way too often? And it was again tonight. The Canucks avoided facing the hottest goaltender in hockey in Linus Ullmark. 7-0 in his last 7 games with 7 goals against. They got a break, a monumental break, in facing a goalie that hadn't played in the National Hockey League this season and had played just 2 NHL games in his career. And oh yeah, they score 4 times on the guy. Like, it was there for the taking. If they played more like they did in the third period in the first 40 minutes, maybe they're not falling behind. Maybe they're not chasing the game yet again. And look, the Canucks get a single point, but this is a loss. Make no mistake, the paying customers leave Rogers Arena yet again without seeing the home team win. No consecutive home ice victories at Christmas. Just stop and think about that for a sec. And, like, full credit to Levi Marilainen. I mean, this guy's trying hard to be a National Hockey League goaltender. Called up from the AHL, patiently waits his turn, gets his opportunity. He's not great in this game by any stretch, and yet he leaves the building with his first win in the National Hockey League, because the Canucks did nothing to test him in the early going, and ultimately they gave up way too much at the other end of the ice. Jake Sanderson wins it 13 seconds into overtime, just 1 shot on goal in the overtime period, and that's it, 5-4. Senators beat the Canucks, who are now 16-10-7 on the season. That is more losses than wins, any way you cut it. Yeah, there's some OTLs in there, a lot of them, in fact, because the Canucks are just brutal in overtime. 3-6 now in games decided in overtime. 3-7 in games decided beyond regulation, because they had the shootout loss to the Philadelphia Flyers in the early going this season. They have left 7 bonus points on the table. A team that has difference makers and star players, at least we say that, but they're certainly not playing like stars other than Quinn Hughes. Yes, it was nice to see Brock Besser pot a couple, get up to double digits, but it's been awfully quiet around him and others. And yeah, I mean, this storyline and the rift, it's not going away. In fact, it was confirmed by Quinn Hughes and Rick Tocchet this morning, and then JT Miller and Elias Pettersson go out and do absolutely nothing for the Vancouver Canucks. Lots to get to. We want your participation. You see the socials there on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Hit us up, your thoughts on this hockey game, the state of this club, the things that you heard from Quinn Hughes and Rick Tocchet earlier today. We'll play Quinn's comments a little later in the back half of the program here. But let's bring David Quadrelli from Canucks Convo and Canucks Army into the mix here. He's going to be my co-host for this evening. Dave, guess what? The Canucks lose at home. Have you heard that before?
I have heard that before. You know what else I've heard before, Jeff? JT Miller didn't backcheck too much tonight, did he?
No, he did not. There were a number of instances. I think it was his guy, in fact, that ends up putting the dagger in as Jake Sanderson caps off a 3-point night. Shane Pinto has 3 points as well. We'll get to 3 stars a little bit later on here. But let's start at the start. Again, sluggish start on home ice. I made the point earlier when Travis Green, I think, surprised a lot of people. The Ottawa Senators play in Edmonton tomorrow, back-to-back, and then that's it for them at Christmas time. They're on a roll. Linus Ullmark, the hottest goaltender in hockey. And I kind of thought this was Travis Green's return as a head coach. I kind of thought he might throw his fastball at the Vancouver Canucks and then take his chances in Edmonton. But no, the Canucks get this break of an unproven, untested, winless goaltender in the National Hockey League. And he looked it at times in this game. He gives up 4. But the Canucks had 6 shots on goal in the first period, and midway through the hockey game had 9. Like, it's just, it's not one off or, a couple here or there. They had 6 shots halfway through the game in Utah the other night. They had 9 shots on goal halfway through this one. And again, try testing the guy. Put some pucks on net. See what happens. Goals were going in this hockey game, and yet whether it's Rick Tocchet's system, whether it's guys that just aren't fully invested, who knows what. And I'm curious to see how the head coach perceives this one tonight. We'll get his comments a little bit later on, but yeah, just not enough. Outside of Quinn Hughes, who did everything in his power to win this hockey game for the Vancouver Canucks, there's just not nearly enough from the other 17 skaters.
Yeah, and the top guys again, Jeff. I opened the show by making a joke about JT Miller not backchecking, and certainly that's a story tonight. But again, people in the chat are pointing it out. Elias Pettersson, where are you? Right, This is a game where Elias Pettersson should have been a guy to step up. You know who stepped up was Phil DiGiuseppe. Phil DiGiuseppe played like he was really trying to make sure that he was going to be in this lineup for the foreseeable future. And I think he did that tonight. But you need more than Phil DiGiuseppe in order to win hockey games. And Jeff, you just said it, get some pucks on net. Start testing this goaltender. Pucks were going in. You just said that. And man, just getting some pucks that weren't going to be those redirects, right? Those redirect chances that they were going for. And look, I've been saying this for a while now. We know about the need for a top 4 defenseman, but everything starts from the back end. It is the way I really look at it, and the way I just view the system and view everything that you do is everything starts from the back end. When you can't break the puck out of your own end, you're not going to get a good forecheck going. You're not going to get anything going through the neutral zone, and you're certainly not going to get offensive chances if you can't get the puck out of your own net. And look, that again, that first goal, I don't mean to slag on Noah Juulsen too much, but I pointed out right away, you're under pressure. There was pressure, minimal pressure, I'd say, against Brady Tkachuk there, and he throws it right to Thomas Chabot at the line, and puck's in the back of the net. That's the Bruce Boudreau era hockey of Canucks hockey. That's what we got used to seeing, was give away in your own end, pucks in the back of your net, and then the next heartbeat. And again, that's also on Brock Besser. People pointed out Brock Besser needed to be there. Brock Besser needed to be skating harder. He pots the 2 goals tonight, but I'm not excluding him from this conversation either when we're talking about the top players. I didn't like his efforts.
No, and I'm glad you brought him up, because that felt like it might be a tone setter. We've seen the Canucks fall behind early in way too many games, particularly at Rogers Arena. You're right. Noah Juulsen's just got to make a better, stronger play on that puck. But Brock Besser, and this is what Rick Tocchet has talked about, is compounding the issues. Besser looked slow. I don't know if he was expecting Juulsen to make a better play or a stronger play. He looked slow, but then he doubles down and kind of half effort to get in front of the shot from the point as well. I thought he could have, sort of bailed himself and his teammates out there, but a little stick check kind of, and the puck gets through and ultimately is deflected by Claude Giroux, and then so it's 1-0. Canucks are down. They're chasing. We talked about the fact that shots were 5-0 halfway through the first period. And I know that the Senators did have a power play in there, but still, it took the Canucks that long. I mean, their first shot was Noah Juulsen just kind of flinging a puck, and DiGiuseppe redirected it. And then off the rush, Shane Pinto makes it 2-0, and you're thinking, look out. They may get run out of the rink here the way that the Senators are playing. But we've seen this from this Canucks team. a quick burst, and all of a sudden, somehow, against the run of the play, they go to the locker room, tied at 2. Besser, nifty play by Quinn Hughes, and then Hughes himself just dealing after Phil DiGiuseppe gets in on the forecheck there. And you're right, Phil DiGiuseppe, I mean, Besser gets the 2 goals, but just in terms of buy-in and the effort level and repeatability on every shift, PDG was right up at the top of the list to the best Canucks. So I think there are a bunch of guys. And, look, it starts with Miller and Pettersson. Like, they both have to look themselves in the mirror and then maybe look at each other at some point here.
Well, don't do that.
Man,
don't go crazy.
No, I was so hoping for a power play goal, Dave, in this game because I wanted, like, the over-analysis of the celebration. And, like, you would have got it. People would have been breaking down film online of the goal celebration. So I wanted to see a power play goal. Instead, all this talk about reuniting these guys on the power play, and then it blows up in their face, and the only special teams goal is a shorthanded goal. And, again, there was some questionable effort on the back check on that one as well. So Canucks never led in this hockey game. They were chasing throughout. I guess you give them credit for not going away, but it's the NHL. They shouldn't be going away. There's some people that probably would like them to go away now, but they got one more game before Christmas, and then there will be a little brief holiday break here. Jake DeBrusk on the doorstep, like, good to see him. Those are the goals that he's been scoring for the last month and a half here. Again, though, it's Quinn Hughes making the play, Quinn Hughes has a goal and 2 primary assists. He's up to 40 points now on the season. Closes in on Cale Makar again, 2 points back now of that scoring derby between those two, and he's played 3 fewer games there. So to me, it's criminal because I just thought Quinn's had so many incredible nights. I just thought his command of this one was really close to the top of the list. Like, he was in that first period when they were down. They're never out because they've got Quinn Hughes in their lineup.
He was making magic happen. And again, it highlights how much they're missing Filip Hronek because when he wasn't on the ice, and look, I know Hronek and Hughes play together, but when Hughes wasn't on the ice, it was bad. Like, you can't break the puck at your own end. Again, I said it earlier, everything starts from the back end. And if everything starts at the back end, Quinn Hughes is a great example of that because he is just making everything happen tonight. Again, you talk about the defensive play, you talk about the reads, you talk about the the transitional play that he just brings each and every night. I agree with you, Jeff. I thought this was one of his better performances. And what were we talking about this week was the Stars going quiet. It was going to cost Quinn some points. It was going to cost Quinn some Hart Trophy conversation, consideration, whatever you want to say. He was just brilliant again tonight, and he's one of the lone bright spots on the evening.
And so these numbers now become sort of a regular fixture here on Rink Wide. Elias Pettersson, 1 goal in 12. 1 5-on-5 goal in his last 16 hockey games. JT Miller, 2 goals in 16 himself. None in the last 7. None since his return. Both of his goals that I mentioned there into an empty net. He hasn't beaten a goaltender since late October. Besser ends his mini slump. Connor Garland's up to 11 now, without a goal, and I thought a pretty quiet night for Connor Garland. And this is the thing, that here's Elias Pettersson in this slump again, and then they give him Connor Garland as a winger, and Connor Garland's gone quiet as well and not playing anywhere close to his best hockey. I mean, the hustle and the effort are there, but there has to be a bottom line in all of this, and just there isn't for far too many guys. So a lot of disappointment all around. We said the record now at 16-10-7. That's 16 wins and 17 losses on the season. The home record is 6-7-5. That's 6 victories in 18 games in front of the paying customers. 1 win in their last 5 games, Dave, and 2 wins now in their last 8. And if you've looked, Edmonton and Vegas are in the fast lane on the highway, just zipping past the Vancouver Canucks, and Canucks are doing all they can to hold on to one of the wild card spots right now. But again, unless they get the rest guys going, they are going to fall behind. They fell behind the playoff bar earlier in the day, but they do get a single point. So, but they're going to have trouble staying above the playoff bar in the West. You go as far as your star players will take you. And right now, outside of Quinn Hughes, the star players, they're fighting with each other, and they're fighting the puck, and it's just not adding up to much for the Vancouver Canucks.
Some people in the chat here, Jeff, pointing out Kevin Lankinen tonight. I want to talk to you about him. His night on the whole, this is how I kind of sum it up. he certainly wasn't the problem tonight, but what we've gotten used to seeing from Kevin Lankinen is saving one, maybe two, maybe three, maybe four, maybe five of those pucks. Like, we've gotten used to seeing Kevin Lankinen not steal the Canucks games, but make the big save and make the timely save that just kind of shifts the momentum in their direction. I just don't think they got that from him tonight. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, this is on Kevin Lankinen. We've highlighted the defensive efforts in front of him. Is not.
I didn't love the winning goal, Dave.
5-hole? Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Obviously, he thinks...
Sanderson, he attacks with speed. I get that. Yep. And maybe he thinks he's going to drag it across. Whatever. It just looked too easy there. And when you give up 5 on 19, like the math tells you that it wasn't a great night at the office, there were breakdowns like on Pinto's second goal to make it 3-2 early in the second period. Yep. Non-call on Quinn Hughes. Should have been a penalty. But you play to the whistle. It wasn't. As the Sens break out, there's 3 Canucks back and 3 Senators in the neutral zone. Like, the Canucks have numbers. They're in good shape. And then that somehow turns into Pinto getting around and behind Tyler Myers. Myers has to make a better defensive play there, but still, you would love to save, and they didn't.
And
get
that's the
save
save
there.
They've gotten. They've gotten those saves this year, and people in the chat are pointing that out. Yeah, Lankinen didn't look good tonight. I think we can say that. I'm certainly not going to sit here and say, oh, he's the reason they lost. No, he's the reason they didn't win. I think that's an easier way to say it. He's part of the reason why they didn't win.
No, I think that is probably a good way to look at it. Let's get to the 3 stars of this hockey game. Lots of candidates. All of them had 3-point nights. We're going with Shane Pinto only because Jake Sanderson was sort of a late ad with the overtime goal. I mean, you can flip it. Sanderson, he had a terrific night. He's obviously a really good player. I think he's passed Thomas Chabot as their best defenseman, and they lean on him. And this team's playing well. Like, give Travis Green and his group some credit. Nolan Baumgartner, Mike Yeo, lots of familiar faces behind the bench there for the Ottawa Senators. And at the end of the night, just look at the final numbers here. Jake Sanderson plays 23 minutes, a goal and 2 assists, including the winner. He's the 3rd star, but Shane Pinto had 2 goals and an assist. He's up to 6 on the season. And there's Quinn Hughes in the middle. Just couldn't give him the 1st star, even though I thought he was the best player on the ice. But we'll go with Pinto, Hughes, and Sanderson as the 3 stars of this hockey game. The 3 stars, a presentation of Greta Bar YVR. If you're looking for a gathering spot this holiday season, give Greta Bar a shot. You will not be disappointed. It's a great place to meet up with old friends, and I keep saying maybe you'll meet some new ones. The big screens, you got the arcade games, terrific new street food menu, weekly drink specials. Greta Bar, the place to be, 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar, let the games begin. I know that you've got some other assignments for Canucks Army here, so we won't keep you a whole lot longer, but I am curious, just your thoughts on, we've talked about what we saw from Quinn Hughes. Your thoughts on what you heard from Quinn Hughes earlier in the day. And we're going to play the comments. If I don't know how people would have missed them by now. Certainly a hardcore Canucks audience like we have here at Rink Wide. But we will play them in their entirety a little bit later on in the program. But what do you think of the way that Quinn handled the questions about the perceived rift in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's pointing out that it's a really good look for him as the captain of the team to come out and, not dwell on the fact that there are issues, say that there are issues and have answers for how he's going to overcome them and how he as a leader on this team, as the captain of this team, is going to help them through this and how these guys are going to work it out and how, these things, trying to bring the heat down a bit by saying like, hey, these things happen. Name dropping Philip Hronik, which I thought was a little funny about, sometimes I yell at Phil and Phil's sitting at home reading that. But anyways, I liked it from Quinn. And Jeff, honestly, before he said all that, I was really expecting just to hear the cliche, oh, we don't pay attention to the noise, we don't let the noise in this room, or whatever it is that we typically hear. You know where I'm going with that. That kind of speech from the captain, from the coach. But no, you saw some honesty, and I'm curious what we're going to see post-game, if Miller and if Petey speak post-game.
Well, Elias Pettersson has spoken. He says he doesn't understand why people are making shit up. That was a direct quote from Elias Pettersson. So, again, the captain already let the cat out of the bag earlier in the day. So Petey's kind of late to the game here. And you could say that about most of the games he's played of late. But whatever. All is not well in Canuckville with 1 game to go here before the Christmas break. Talk about a bunch of guys that need to get away from each other here for the holiday. But their job requires them to show up and play against a San Jose team that was plucky. my goodness, in Edmonton this afternoon. They lost in overtime as well, so two teams going to hook up on Monday night. I know you've got Canucks Convo on Monday, and you'll have lots more, obviously, to talk about in the wake of a 5-4 overtime loss for the Vancouver Canucks to the Ottawa Senators. Dave, thanks for helping out here on this Saturday night, and we do at the end, but we'll remind people to check out your instant reaction at Canucks Army. It's is it up now? Is it posted?
Oh yeah.
There
It was
go.
up. It was
Final
up.
buzzer. Okay, so you can get Dave's thoughts in print at Canucks Army, and of course we'll have the Stanchies and Statsies a little bit later on. But thank you for this, and we will catch up soon.
Thanks for the time, and thanks for the super chat, Dwight Foster. I'll let you take that though. Jeff.
Absolutely,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we continue to say this. But if you want to make a contribution to the BC Mental Health Foundation, that's what the Super Chat is all about, and Dwight has come through for us, so we thank him for that. He says, we could really use some face-off capability. Too many important draws lost on a nightly basis. Hats off to Hughes for yet another huge game, and hats off to Dwight for his thoughts there. Yeah, I mean, the Canucks were schooled in the face-off circle, win 42% of the draws. Overtime, so much of overtime is about possession. Canucks didn't touch the puck in OT. Senators win the faceoff, back to the up, and away they go. And ultimately, it's Sanderson who beats Lankinen for the winner there. So, yeah, not wrong. Having JT Miller back has helped their faceoff. When he was gone, that was certainly an area that they missed him. But not a great night for Miller. Went 8-7 in the faceoff circle. Pius Suter was 4-4, so he was 50%. Pettersson won 5 of 13. Kiefer Sherwood forced to take a couple faceoffs, didn't win either of them, and Teddy Bluger struggled in the faceoff circle as well. So, Josh Norris wins 10 of the 11 draws that he took on the night. So absolutely dominant for him. And, I don't want to make too much of faceoffs, but in overtime, look who won the draw, look who won the hockey game. So I think enough said there. Yeah. It's chaos right now around the Vancouver Canucks without Filip Hronek. And one guy, as much as he means to this team and as skilled as he is and where he's slotted on the depth chart, of course they miss him. But it shouldn't be a free-for-all in their own zone. And the limited puck skills of so many guys beneath Quinn Hughes on the defensive depth chart just evident again. Giveaways and like rough touches of the puck and zero finesse. And so, yes, we keep coming back to this idea that, breakouts are rough right now. And it is tough to get the puck to the forwards with speed and allow them to attack and all of that. It's all connected. It starts in your own zone. And it's tough right now. And it's tough because as much as the Canucks are struggling in their own zone, when they do move the puck out, there's just nothing there. There's nothing there from Elias Pettersson right now. That's no points in 6 games. So remember when everybody declared that he was back? This looks like the first couple of weeks of the season for Elias Pettersson. JT Miller didn't have a shot attempt in this hockey game. Not a shot attempt. 15 minutes and 15 seconds of ice time. 1 hit. 1 block shot. 8-7 in the faceoff circle. Not a shot attempt from a guy who should be one of the most dangerous Vancouver Canuck forwards. Not sure what's going on with Connor Garland. 11 games without a goal, 1 shot on goal. Gets moved onto the right side with Elias Pettersson, which you'd like to think is an upgrade, but not right now. And so the two of them just kind of go quietly through the night, and Jake DeBrusk did score. Although I didn't think it was a huge night for DeBrusk. He scored in his only shot on goal, and at that, it was a deflection on the doorstep. So, yeah, I mean, that line, not a whole lot happening there. And then we talked about DiGiuseppe. Certainly he'll take what Phil DiGiuseppe offered in this game. 3 hits. He made his hits pay. He's forcing turnovers. He was instrumental. Like on the 2-2 goal by Quinn Hughes, DiGiuseppe gets an assist on the Besser goal. He doesn't get an assist on Quinn Hughes' goal, but he's the guy that gets in there and absolutely staples his man, forces a turnover, puck comes back to Hughes, and Quinn with the shot through traffic, his 8th of the season. So, yeah, I mean, Phil DiGiuseppe's playing for a spot in the NHL again. And he got a little taste the other night, made most of his opportunity here, especially compared to the other guy. Linus Karlsson gets back-to-back games and not much there. It's pretty clear that he is not the answer to what ails the Vancouver Canucks. In fact, I probably would take Max Sasson over Linus Karlsson, so we'll see what Monday brings. But, you can go down through the list here. Talked about Tyler Myers and the poor defensive effort. This is the NHL. He's got to make a better play on Pinto, and he doesn't. He got called for interference on Tim Stützle in the first period. It kind of felt like he got penalized for being a big man. I thought the call the other night in Utah, tough spot, 5 minutes to go, and you got a 1-goal lead, but he did cross-check. I think it was Keller. It was Clayton Keller. Penalties are creeping back into Tyler Myers' game. He's taken a minor penalty in 4 of the last 5 games now. And the other team's not scoring every time he goes to the penalty box. Senators didn't score a power play goal in this hockey game. But this is part of the issue with Tyler Myers, is that minor penalties seem to follow him around. So, again, outside of Quinn Hughes, it's hard to find a Canuck that you point to. And yes, Brock Besser had 2 goals. That's good because he's been so quiet of late. He's up to double digits. I was starting to wonder if any of Miller, Pettersson, or Besser would get to double digits by Christmas. Well, we get our answer there that, yes, Brock Besser now to 10 goals on the season, but a far cry for, 22 or 24 at Christmas a year ago. We know that last year was a career year for him. They need him to get going. It's a contract year for him, so maybe a step in the right direction. But ultimately, it's a loss, and it is a team game. So I don't know how excited Brock Besser can be about scoring 2 goals in a losing cause like this one. Keep the submissions coming to the Great Clips inbox. We'll try to work in as many as we can as we keep an eye on the chat that is certainly moving along at a rapid pace here tonight. Great Clips, your time's valuable. Use the check-in app. See the wait times, check in on your phone, and get your haircut when you want. Check out Great Clips online at greatclips.com. Great Clips, it's going to be great. All right, let's get to the stat that stands out. Stat that stands out in this hockey game, I'll read it for you. You can read along with me. Canucks have now allowed 4 or more goals in 11 of their 18 home games. 4 more goals in 11 of their 18 home games. So more than half the home games, they're giving up 4. Gave up 7 to the Oilers. Gave up 6 to the Devils. Gave up 5 to the Islanders. Gave up 5 here. Gave up 5 to Boston last Saturday. How are you going to win? How are you going to win when you're giving up 5 on the regular? What happened to protecting the guts of the ice and structure and staples? All of that is out the window. Filip Hronek is the only guy that's missing physically. This is the Canucks forward group. There's nobody waiting in reserves. This is their forward group, but to the stat that stands out, that's a defensive statistic, obviously, and goaltending, too. And who knows? Lankinen's been incredible for the Canucks this year, but his best performances have come on the road way more often than not. And, at home, goaltending's been part of the issue. Silovs hasn't been anywhere close to good enough at home, and we talked about the fact that Lankinen wasn't good enough in this hockey game either. So absolutely, that is a stat that stands out, that in 11 of 18 games now, the Canucks have surrendered 4 or more when they're not doing much to score. That's a caustic combination because you have to outscore your opponents. That's how it works here. And they had set themselves up by getting the late goal from Besser to tie this game at 4, get it to overtime, had to kill off the penalty to Noah Juleson, the double minor, got it across the finish line in regulation so that they had guaranteed themselves a single point at the very least, and then you're thinking, all right, 3-on-3, here you go. We saw this the other night in Utah. That overtime, I think it finished with 13 seconds left on the clock, and this one ends 13 seconds into OT, so 13, not a lucky number for the Vancouver Canucks. Canucks are now 3-6 in games decided in overtime. Their actual overtime record is 3-6. 3 wins, 6 losses. Again, I keep shaking my head that you think of the game breakers that the Canucks have or the game breakers that you think they've got. And they just get bumped in overtime on the regular. And Philly beat them in a shootout. So beyond regulation, the Canucks are 3-7. 10 of their games have gone to overtime. They are 3-7 beyond regulation time. That's 7 bonus points that are up for grabs. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, if they had all 7, like, the other team's trying to win, the other team ends up winning more often than not. But if the Canucks had even had 3 of the 7 bonus points that they've left on the table, like, think of what a difference that would make to them. At the completion of play tonight, the Vancouver Canucks are going to sleep as the first wildcard team, tied with the Calgary Flames at Christmas, or basically at Christmas. Like, how's that? Like, what world are we living in that the Canucks and the Calgary Flames are tied on 39 points? But if the Canucks had 3 more points from overtime and a shootout, they'd be tied with the Edmonton Oilers. They'd be 1 point behind the Los Angeles Kings. Vegas is, again, starting to take off and hide from teams like the Canucks. Vegas was a big winner over Seattle earlier today. Vegas is 8-2 in its last 10 games. Canucks have 3 wins in their last 10. 3-3-4. So points in 7 if you really want to be an optimist. But again, when other teams are picking up 2 and you're just going point here and a point there, you're losing ground. That's how math works in the National Hockey League standings. But the Canucks and the Flames tied at 39. Dallas at 38, which is a little bit of a surprise. But they're 5-5 in their last 10, so they've slipped. Utah up to 37 points. Utah's just 2 back of the Canucks with a game in hand now. And as much as the Canucks and some Canuck fans may want to focus on divisional spots and what's happening above, I would recommend, while this team is in its funk and these top players are in their funks, that it's probably the rearview mirror that you want to pay a little more attention to when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks, because objects in that rearview mirror are closing quickly for the Vancouver Canucks. 5-4 overtime loss. And again, we're going to play the comments of Quinn Hughes here a little bit later on as we continue to move through this game. Just looking in the chat here, Michael asking, does this team understand that clearing the puck up the middle really slowly is a bad thing? There are some decisions on that Juleson penalty late. The one shift there where Derek Forward had 3 opportunities to clear the puck and failed on all 3 of them. We talked about Juleson on the opening goal of the hockey game. Like, you got to be tougher on the puck. You do. This is the NHL. These are the best players in the league, in the world, and it's inexcusable, but it happens so often. Like, it's just hard to figure out sometimes what's going on and what's going wrong with this club, but just not good enough. And maybe ultimately it just comes back to this idea that this defense core needs help. You may have heard that the Canucks need some reinforcements on the back end, that this management group likely won't sit tight for long. Now, roster freeze in effect. When it was 2-0 in this game, I joked online. I thought it was kind of funny that these guys were taking the roster freeze literally. Like, they looked like they were frozen in their skates and not moving. Now, they did mount the comeback late in the first period and chipped away. Down 3-2, down 4-3. Get it to overtime, and as we've said, overtime didn't last very long for the Vancouver Canucks in this one, or for the Senators. 5-4 is the final score. So you're just left shaking your head. I mean, really, that's all you can do. And maybe we just have to get over the fact that last year was the perfect storm, that everything went right for the Canucks, career years across the board, and it's just not happening for so many of these guys. And yes, JT Miller's back, but he doesn't look anything like the JT Miller that we've seen be a 100-point guy in the National Hockey League, be this incredible force offensively, be the sort of engine and the thermometer for this hockey club, just kind of going meekly and deciding not to backcheck particularly hard in this hockey game. So, as I look through the final stats and the box score, again, Miller, yeah, he picks up an assist, but he's -2, no shot attempts. Elias Pettersson, -1, no points. Had 2 shots on goal. Remember, one of them coming down the left wing late in the first period. I don't really recall the other one. No surprise, Quinn Hughes led the team in shots, had 5 of their 25 on the night, 9 attempts, played 26 minutes and 42 seconds. And not only is Quinn Hughes up to 40 points on the season, but when you think of the storylines, the pieces that have been missing, the heavy lifting that he's been forced to do, he's on a 96-point pace. This guy won the Norris with 92 points last year. And after 33 games, Quinn Hughes is on pace to better his statistical performance from a year ago. So, I mean, he really is having a marvelous season. And I hope he can keep it up. Because if others aren't worth the price of admission, it just kind of feels like Quinn is on a nightly basis. Shows up, plays hard, competes, battles, does what you want from a captain and a leader, but can't do it himself. It is a team game ultimately. And, yeah, I mean, you just wonder when are some of these other guys going to decide to sort of punch the clock and get back on the job here? Because it's just not happening for the Vancouver Canucks. And as much fun as last season was, and obviously the playoffs, and everybody wants that again, but these are the guys that have to go out there and make it. So we'll see where it goes. You know, there's a lot of hockey to be played, and if management does alter the composition of the roster, maybe that's what this team needs. Maybe they need a shake-up. Maybe they need a shot in the arm. Maybe it's not just a defenseman. Maybe they go out, go big, and bring in some other pieces as well. But something's got to give, because it just feels like the outside noise, apparently the inside noise, the lack of performances, all of it's adding up to the fact that the Canucks are losing more often than they're winning right now. And as we said, 3 wins in 10. That's not a particularly good stretch for the Vancouver Canucks. Edward in the chat says, I can't say the goaltending was the reason they lost, but with Demko back, he should be playing every second game so that both goalies can be rested. Well, that's fine, but have you looked at Thatcher Demko's record since he returned? He's got 1 win. So, yeah, he's had some moments here, but this idea that, Thatcher Demko's back, all is good with him and the hockey club, no, that's not the case at all. And, look, they played Thursday. Lincoln had been off for a week. He can handle back, consecutive games, not back-to-back. They rode this guy earlier in the season. So, I don't think that you're going to get to a point where it's as simple as a rotation of just keep alternating them. I think Rick Tocchet's going to try to be strategic. I would imagine that after Lankinen gives up 5 in this one, that the door is wide open for Thatcher Demko to get the San Jose Sharks on Monday, and then see how that goes before you have to make a decision. It's an afternoon game after Christmas, the game on the 28th against the Seattle Kraken. There was some concern about Demko coming back for an afternoon game now that he's played a few. Are those concerns allayed? Like, who knows? But you can't worry about the Kraken on the 28th because you've got a San Jose team that's coming in here on Monday night, 6 o'clock start, by the way, don't forget, and it's on Prime. So, it's not on your conventional cable carriers. If you don't have a Prime subscription, you may have to go and find somewhere else. I'm kind of curious how that's going to affect establishments around town. Will they, like places, sports bars, that are you just used to going in a bunch of TVs, are they going to stream this hockey game? Will you be able to find it if you're not a Prime subscriber? So just a question that I throw out there, but you got a couple of days to figure out how you are going to get your first look at Macklin Celebrini in Vancouver for the first time in his National Hockey League career. We'll talk more about the Sharks here in a moment or two, but before we do that, I just wanted to run through the schedule or the scoreboard from earlier today, the games that impacted the Vancouver Canucks. A bunch of afternoon hockey. I don't know why there was on this Saturday, but Los Angeles Kings, they lose in overtime in Nashville, so they get a single point. Calgary, a 6-4 win at home over the Chicago Blackhawks. Edmonton was down in the final minute. Now, they were down 2 the other day against Boston, came back and won in overtime. And usual suspects, McDavid in on the tying goal. Draisaitl scores the winner in this one, and they come back to defeat San Jose by a score of 3-2. Oilers won't care about giving up a single point to the Sharks, but they'll take the 2 themselves. Buffalo lost, if you're interested. 12 straight now for them. Other games involving the West, Winnipeg with a 5-0 shutout over Minnesota, Vegas 6-2 at home against the Seattle Kraken, and the Golden Knights are just in this portion of their schedule now, 10 of 12 on home ice, starting with the win over the Canucks the other day. I don't think there's going to be much looking back now for the Vegas Golden Knights, who win again without their leading goal scorer, Ivan Barbashev, not seeming to have too much trouble with their 15-goal man out of the lineup, depth coming through for them. They score 6 on the Seattle Kraken. But the game that we're focused on is 5-4 Ottawa over the Vancouver Canucks. Senators push their win streak to 6. They're a wild card team in the East. And, it's funny, when the Canucks beat Ottawa 4-3 in the nation's capital on November 23rd, I think that was 5 straight losses for the Sens. Brady Tkachuk running around, kind of looked like they weren't interested in playing hockey at that point. And you kind of wondered, this is going to be another lost season for the Ottawa Senators. So good for Travis Green. He's got his guys going, most of it on the back of Linus Ullmark, but they've got guys that can score goals. And I guess that's part of the problem here for the Canucks, too, is that, this wasn't a night when Brady Tkachuk took over this game or Tim Stützle. Josh Norris is one of their double-digit goal scorers. They got 5 of them. Adam Gaudette had those 2 chances on the early power play. The stick save by Lankinen. Still not exactly sure how he made that. Lost his stick, kind of pushed it across, and Gaudette hit the stick, and then moments later, puck to Gaudette again. He hit the crossbar. So Adam Gaudette having a revival in Ottawa. This is sort of a classic Adam Gaudette night. He played 6 minutes. 6 minutes. A minute and a half on the power play. Adam Gaudette played 4 minutes and 29 seconds at even strength in this hockey game, and very nearly added to his collection of goals, but was held off the score sheet. Sanderson wins it. 3-point night for him. Shane Pinto had 2 goals to lead the Ottawa Charge. We went through that with the guys that were the 3 stars in this hockey game. But, not enough. Not nearly enough from the Canucks top of the lineup. All right. I said that I wanted to play the Quinn Hughes interview from earlier today because I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was revealing. I thought it was another indication of the maturity of the captain, willing to take an issue, and a bit of a thorny one, about this hockey club head on. And I thought he delivered. And, he easily could have swept it aside and tried to downplay it, but he didn't. He admitted that, there's some bad juju in that locker room right now, that there is something going on here and something going wrong. And when I asked him, is it workable? Can you get around it? Is there a path forward here? We'll let you listen. This is Quinn Hughes after the morning skate talking about what everybody in this market seems to be talking about these days.
Obviously, not to beat around the bush. Everyone knows what the reports are out there, but I think that everyone expects a lot from each other. There's times where, I get, upset with Millsy. There's times I get upset with Petey. There's times I get upset with Hronek. And that doesn't mean that I don't love those guys and vice versa. And, I'm going to make some bad plays. They're going to make a play where I wish, they saw me here or saw me there. And over the course of playing together for 6 years, I think that those things are normal and they're going to happen. And as far as my leadership, I think just continue to keep everyone on the yellow brick road and what our ultimate goal is, which is short term, having a good game tonight, and long term, being a successful team and getting in the playoffs.
Is it workable though? Is it just outside noise?
Yeah, I just think 100% I believe it's workable, and I know it's workable. We saw it last year, very evident, and I think that both of them have been going through their own struggles this year, and I believe in both of them. I think they're great players, great people, and like I said, there's times where we all get into it, but it is a family in here, and we just got to continue to, push forward and play the way we want to play. If there's a positive looking forward to this, I think Petey and Millsy would both say that they haven't played their best hockey this year, and we're still, where we are in the standings, and I think that, that's a positive thing that we can look at, is that two of the best players out there can be better.
And to that last point, he's not wrong. That clearly JT Miller and Elias Pettersson haven't played their best hockey. But it's hard right now to envision these guys cranking it up and getting back to anything that resembled the first half of last season. And for Pettersson, we've seen that the second half last year into the playoffs, it was tough. It was tough to watch. It was tough for him, I'm sure. And then the start of this season looked like he had found his way out of the wilderness in November, and now here he is with 6 straight without a single point. And as for Miller, who knows? Who knows what's going on? Again, hasn't scored on a goaltender since October 25th. How does that make sense? It doesn't, is the short answer. And so Quinn can pump up the fact that these are two of the best players, and they're supposed to be, but they're not right now. And so that just kind of, you would imagine, compounds things because there's individual frustration. Clearly there's some friction in there. I echo what everybody else has said, that, look, these guys don't have to be best friends. But they are paid to play hockey. And they're paid to put their best foot forward. So be good teammates, suck it up, figure it out. But nights like this one where neither one of them does much, that's not going to be a step towards peace and a solution here. So we'll see where it goes. But again, to Quinn, just addressing it head on, I thought it was measured. He didn't try and duck it. In fact, he basically confirmed what we've all been talking about for a while now. And to the people that said that this is all a media construct and a figment of our imagination, Quinn and Rick talking to it as well. They know that there is something going on here. Elliot Friedman spent a good chunk of his headlines in the second intermission on Hockey Night in Canada addressing this very issue. Bruce Boudreau the other day talking about how there was problems when he was the head coach. Well, he was the last head coach. So this isn't new. This is a continuation of a story, but it has risen to national prominence now. People around the league, significant, high-profile people, are talking about it. They're asking questions about it. I'm getting asked by reporters in other markets, what in the world is going on? Is this for real? Yes, there is something here. So don't bury your head in the sand. The captain has now confirmed as much. And so that's our baseline. We don't know all the details. That's our baseline, though, that yes, there is some truth to this matter. And clearly, it's holding these two guys back, and it feels like it's holding this hockey club back as well. We've got another super chat I want to get to. Daniel contributing, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Daniel. I love this team. I hope they figure out their family drama. Is it just me, or were the Sens winning way more board battles tonight? Well, not when Phil DiGiuseppe was out there. PDG had it going, but on the night, again, this wasn't a great night for the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks out-hit the Senators 28-13. A lot of nights when the hit statistics are that one-sided, you think, well, hey, the Canucks didn't have the puck, they're chasing, they were desperate, whatever. I mean, the underlying numbers favor the Vancouver Canucks. The scoreboard ultimately doesn't, but the third period, if the Canucks can do that way more often than not, then they'll probably get leads. They'll probably get out ahead of their opponents. They'll be, dictating the game and forcing the other guys to chase and make adjustments. The final numbers here at 5-on-5, Canucks controlled almost 60% of the shot attempts. Scoring chances, 24-15 in favor of the Canucks. High dangers, 11-9 in the Canucks' favor. So, again, this wasn't a night where the Senators had the puck all night and it was all the Canucks could do to try to bounce them off the puck. That wasn't it at all. But give the Senators credit. Travis Green has them playing the right way, playing hard, and they've got enough offensive talent. And they squeeze out a victory with a backup goaltender that had never won a game in the NHL. So good for him and a bonus for the Senators. And we'll see what they got left in the tank as they go into Edmonton tomorrow for their final game before the Christmas break. They're out on the road for 9 in a row because the World Juniors taking over their building in the nation's capital. So they got another big road trip coming up. I don't think they play a home game until the 9th of January. But Daniel, thank you for hitting us up with another super chat in our Great Clips inbox. And again, part proceeds going to the BC Mental Health Foundation. All right, we've talked about this one an awful lot. There are other games going on around the National Hockey League on Sunday. It's a practice day for the Canucks. San Jose Sharks in town as well. They're skating mid-afternoon, and then both teams will get after it on Monday night, final game before a very brief holiday break. But as we take a look at our line of the night for games happening on Sunday. The line of the night is a presentation of Bet365, and I'm going to look at this Utah Hockey Club. They have struggled on home ice for the most part, although they beat the Vancouver Canucks the other night in overtime. They got Anaheim in there. They should be able to beat the Ducks. The way that they're playing and the way that Anaheim's going for the most part this year. I'm looking at the Utah Hockey Club on the money line at $1.44. That, for me, feels like a winnable bet on our line of the night. So this segment brought to you by Bet365, proud partner of Rink Wide Vancouver. Open an account with Bet365 today. Bet on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. All right, it is the Canucks and the Sharks on Monday. Canucks beat the Sharks in November. Remember they needed a last-minute goal from P.S. Suter after the Sharks had come back and scored with the goaltender pulled and tied the game. And that's kind of been the story of the Canucks on the road this year. Like, they have found ways in a lot of the games, at least up until this past road trip, but not always pretty, but it had been effective. Yeah, not so much of late, but they did beat the Sharks, so they're 1-0 against San Jose. Sharks are 11-9-6 after their loss in Edmonton. Macklin Celebrini, you're going to hear a lot about him over the next 24, 48 hours. Kid's still a teenager. He's basically a point a game in the National Hockey League. He had an assist. He's up to 11 goals, 23 11 goals, 23 points in 24 games. Has a share of the Sharks' lead in power play goals. Leads the team with 3 game winners. All of this. Double digits in goals by Christmas in his rookie season and as a teenager in the National Hockey League. Really impressive stuff for the first overall pick. And the kid from North Vancouver, sounds like the whole family's going to be here to watch his first game back in his hometown. Tyler Toffoli, old friend, leads the Sharks. He has 13 goals. Mikael Granlund's having a terrific season. He's got 32 points. He's got the team lead there. And there are other dangerous players. Like, if you're not careful, William Eklund, Fabian Zetterberg, the youngster Will Smith. Yaroslav Askarov was in goal today. He was incredible. They're carrying 3 goaltenders. I'm curious because he faced 42 Edmonton shots, and ultimately the Oilers win in overtime. But Askarov, with the day off, I wonder if they come back to him. They just brought him back up from the farm here. They're carrying 3 goaltenders right now. Alexander Georgiev, Vitek Vanacek as well. But I wonder if this is an opportunity for the youngster that they picked up from Nashville to get on a run. And certainly with his performance in Edmonton today, you could understand if Ryan Warsofsky, the first-year head coach, decides to come back with Askarov on Monday night. Now, a couple things about the Sharks. Just 2 wins in 21 games when the opponent opens the scoring. So, if the Canucks can get a jump on San Jose, they have not been particularly good at overcoming, giving up that first goal. But the other thing to remember here, San Jose is the most, I got to check this. I don't know if they're the most penalized team in the NHL, but they've been shorthanded more than any team in the National Hockey League. So there may be other teams with more major penalties that, on the balance over the course of games, average more penalty minutes. But in terms of who's been shorthanded the most in the National Hockey League, it is those San Jose Sharks. So we'll see if that trend continues, if the Canucks get power plays, and can they do anything with power plays, because power play blew up in their face as the Senators scored the shorthanded goal after Robert Thomas scored a shorthanded goal when St. Louis was through here on the last homestand. Canucks have given up 4 shorthanded goals and have only scored 1 themselves. Kiefer Sherwood had the shorthanded goal against Colorado last week. So Canucks went 0 for 2 on the power play, but also give up the shorty there. Ottawa was 0 for 4 with the man advantage, and would have had a 5th one coming in overtime. We didn't really talk about the Noah Juleson double minor for high sticking. Try to be aggressive, but leads with the stick. And whether you like the call about blood making an automatic 4-minute minor, too bad. Like, somehow Noah Juleson has got to keep the stick out of there because he gets the stick up into the face of Cousins, and that's a penalty. And then it turns out that it was a double minor, but a little bit of a makeup call as Claude Giroux knocked the stick out of Elias Pettersson's hand on the power play. And so it was 4-on-4, and then it was 3-on-3, and then it ended. 13 seconds in, you blink, you missed overtime, you missed the winner. As Jake Sanderson gets his 2nd of the season. How does he only have 2 goals? When you see the speed and And the power taking the puck to the net. Obviously some finish there as well, but doesn't score often. But he's a beautiful skater, and he's fun to watch, and he plays a lot. And the Senators are going to continue to lean on him on the back end. And for the Canucks, it's Quinn Hughes, and then it's a bunch of other guys. Unfortunately, that's kind of where it's at with this hockey club right now. 5-4 in overtime. Senators beat the Vancouver Canucks. That's about all I've got to say about this one. So we'll be back to do it again on Monday, and then that'll be it for Christmas. So hopefully you can join us. Patrick Johnson's going to be my co-host here in studio on Monday when the Canucks face the San Jose Sharks. 6 o'clock is the puck drop. Just make note of that, and that means Rink Wide's going to be on a little earlier than usual. All right, a reminder to check out Canucks Army for all sorts of Canucks content. Quads has your instant reaction. That's already up. Wyatt was at the rink, and he's got the stanchies coming. I fear that I'm going to figure in them tonight. He had a little fun with my sideways video of Quinn Hughes earlier in the day, so we'll see what happens there. Morning, we'll bring the statsies, and then the Canucks back on the practice ice on Sunday, and we'll see if there's any changes to this lineup that's kind of going sideways right now, and they've got some extra bodies. Again, I think probably seen enough of Linus Karlsson. Not that Max Sasson is going to be a difference maker, but I think Sasson deserves to play and is one of their top 12 forwards. So, and Höglander's the other one. Way too quiet, but Rick Tocchet said they're not giving up on him. And we'll see if they plug him back in the lineup. Coach and Hoagie had heart-to-heart there before the morning skate this morning. Quite a lengthy chat on the ice. Rick Tocchet does that with so many of his players, but this is a little different because Nils Höglander, 26 without a goal, 21 without a point. Oh, yeah, celebrated his 24th birthday on Friday, and the birthday bookended by first two healthy scratches of the season. So we'll see if Nils Höglander draws back in for the Vancouver Canucks. All right, for Mike Rogerson helping out here on a Saturday, we appreciate him working into the weekend. David Quadrelli dropping by a little bit earlier. This is Jeff Patterson. Thanks so much for checking out the latest edition of Rink Wide Vancouver.